Hello and welcome. Are you ready to begin your journey to U.S. citizenship?
We're here to help you every step of the way.
Hello and welcome back to our U.S. Citizenship Test Prep series. I'm Alex. In our last video, we covered the foundational principles of American democracy, like the Constitution and the rule of law.
And I'm Maria. Last time was so helpful. Now that we know the big ideas, I'm ready to learn how the government is actually put together.
That's exactly what we're talking about today, the system of government. We're going to look at the structure, the different parts, and how they work together. So the U.S. government is divided into three parts, or branches. This is a very important concept called the separation of powers. The three branches are the legislative, the executive, and the judicial.
Okay, 3 branches. Why 3? Why not just one person or group in charge of everything?
That's the key question. The writers of the Constitution were afraid of giving too much power to one person or group, so they divided the power. Think of it like a team building a house. You have one person who designs the plans, the legislative branch, another person who actually builds the house, the executive branch, and a third person who inspects it to make sure it was built correctly and safely, the judicial branch. Each has a different important job.
That makes sense. A designer, a builder, and an inspector. So let's start with the designers, the legislative branch. What did they do?
The legislative branch is also known as Congress. Its main job is to create the laws for the country. This is a direct test question. Who makes federal laws? The answer is Congress.
Okay, Congress makes the laws. Is Congress just one big group of people?
Good question. No, Congress itself is split into 2 parts, or 2 chambers. This is another test question. What are the 2 parts of the U.S. Congress? They are the Senate and the House of Representatives.
The Senate and the House. Why are there 2 parts? What's the difference?
The difference is about making sure every state is represented fairly. In the House of Representatives, the number of members a state gets is based on its population. A big state with lots of people, like California, has more representatives than a small state like Wyoming. There are 435 voting members in the House.
Okay, so the House represents the people based on population. What about the Senate?
The Senate is different. Every state, no matter how big or small, gets exactly 2 senators. This is to protect the smaller states and make sure their voices are heard. With 50 states, this means there are 100 U.S. senators.
So the House is by population, and the Senate is equal for every state. 2 different ways to be fair. I get it.
Exactly. Now let's move to the second branch, the builder of our house, the executive branch. Its main job is to execute or enforce the laws that Congress makes.
And the person in charge of this branch is the president, right?
That's correct. The president is the head of the executive branch. The vice president is also part of this branch. But the president has a lot of help. There is a group of advisors called the President's Cabinet.
The cabinet? What do they do?
Cabinet members are in charge of major government departments. They advise the president on important issues. For example, the Secretary of State advises the president on foreign policy and relationships with other countries. The Secretary of Treasury advises on the economy and money. They help the president enforce the laws in their specific areas.
So the president is the boss, and the cabinet are the expert managers who help run the country.
That's a perfect summary. Now for our third branch, the judicial branch. This branch is made up of the court system. Their job is to interpret the laws and make sure they are applied fairly.
Interpret the laws? What does that mean exactly?
It means they explain what the law means in specific situations. They also make sure the laws follow the rules of the Constitution. The highest court in this branch is the Supreme Court. The test will ask, what is the highest court in the United States? The answer is the Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court. How many judges are on this court?
There are 9 judges, called justices, 1 Chief Justice, and 8 Associate Justices. They have a very special power called judicial review. This means the Supreme Court can look at a law passed by Congress and signed by the President and declare it unconstitutional if it violates the Constitution.
Wow! So they can cancel a law?
In a way, yes. If they decide a law goes against our supreme rulebook, the Constitution, then that law is no longer valid. This is a very powerful check on the other branches.
And that brings us to our final and maybe most important concept for today: checks and balances. This is the system that stops any one branch from becoming too powerful.
Checks and balances? Like how the branches check on each other to keep them in balance?
Perfect analogy. Each branch has ways to limit the power of the other two. Let's walk through a clear example. Let's say Congress, the legislative branch, writes and passes a new bill, which is a proposed law.
Okay, so they designed a new rule.
Right, but it doesn't become a law yet. It goes to the President, the executive branch. The President might think it's a bad law. He can refuse to sign it. This is called a veto. A veto is a very important vocabulary word. It's the President's power to say no to a bill from Congress.
So the President checks Congress by using a veto, but does that mean Congress is just stuck?
Not at all. Now Congress gets to check the President's power. If they have enough votes, a 2/3 majority in both the House and the Senate, they can override the veto. That's another key word, override. It means to cancel the President's veto, and the bill becomes a law anyway.
Ah, so they can check each other back and forth, veto and override. What about the judicial branch?
This is their big moment. Now that the bill is a law, someone could challenge it in court. Eventually, the case could go all the way to the Supreme Court. The justices, the judicial branch, can review the law and decide if it is unconstitutional. That means it violates the rules of the Constitution. If they decide it is, the law is struck down.
So the Supreme Court has the final check on both Congress and the President. That is a really clever system to keep power balanced.
It is. So let's quickly recap. We have the legislative branch, Congress, that makes the laws, the executive branch, the President, that enforces the laws, and the judicial branch, the courts, that interprets the laws.
And the system of checks and balances, with tools like the veto and judicial review, makes sure no single branch can take over. They all have to work together.
You've got it. Understanding this structure is key to understanding American government. Thank you everyone for joining us for part 2. Take some time to review these concepts, especially the vocabulary we defined.
This was so clear, Alex. Thank you. I feel like I really understand how the government machine works now.
You're very welcome. In our next lesson, we will focus specifically on Congress and the process of how a bill actually becomes a law. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Keep up the great work, and we'll see you next time.